Hi, it's Mrs. Suriano.
And Mrs. Frenzel.
And today we're going to be reading for you The Big Test by Julie Danneberg and illustrated by Judy Love. Mrs. Hartwell felt good. Really good. Really, really good. All year long, her students had worked hard, learned lots, and had fun. And now, as the school year neared its end, Mrs. Hartwell told her students that they were ready to take the big test. Yuck, said Eddie. Double yuck, said Alexandra. Double, triple, quadruple yuck, said Josh. I hate tests.
Don't worry. This test is just a chance for you to show how much you've learned. You'll be fine.
Like addition, Emily shouted. And reading, said Maria. And science, Jack joined in. Mrs. Hartwell nodded in agreement. Leaning forward, she added,
We still have one thing left to learn, though.
The class was confused. But you just said we were ready, Daniel said.
You are almost. But on test day, you will also have to know how to show what you know. Get it? Know how to show what you know. It's the last thing we have to learn. It'll be fun.
So during reading time that morning, Mrs. Hartwell sent the students straight to their seats.
Today we're going to practice our sitting for a long periods of time skill. I want you to read at your seat and work by yourself.
Well, that doesn't sound like fun to me, Eddie grumbled as he took out his book. The class worked quietly. The reading part was easy. Sitting still without making a sound was hard. For Andy, it was impossible. During recess, while everyone else ran and played, Andy ran and played and worried. After recess, Andy's stomach hurt. He asked to go to the nurse.
Okay, but you'll be missing this afternoon's Let's All Read the Directions lesson.
Andy didn't mind. On Tuesday morning, Mrs. Hartwell said,
Friday is the day of the big test. Since we don't want any bubble trouble when we take it, we're going to practice our fill in the bubbles and computer clicking skills.
Everyone worked hard. Everyone did just fine. Everyone, that is, except Emily and Maria. By the time they were done working, Emily had a headache and Maria felt shivery all over. They asked to go to the nurse.
Okay, but you're going to miss our morning of the test nutrition lesson.
Emily and Maria took their pass and rushed out the door. On Wednesday morning, Mrs. Hartwell said,
Today, we're going to take a practice test.
Do we have to sit still for long periods of time?
Yes.
Andy. Do we have to fill in bubbles? Asked Emily. And be sure to follow the directions?
Yes, you do. Remember, this test is a chance to show what you know before the timer goes off.
Although most of the class did just fine, by the time the practice test was over, Daniel had gone to the nurse. As Mrs. Hartwell watched him go, she felt bad. Really bad. Really, really bad. On Wednesday afternoon, just before the bell, Mrs. Hartwell reminded everyone that tomorrow was the last day before the big test. We know, Eddie said grumpily. This big test is no fun. I can't wait for it to be over. All the other students nodded in agreement. As Mrs. Hartwell straightened up in her desk, she said,
Tomorrow will be better. I promise.
When the students entered the classroom on Thursday, Mrs. Hartwell greeted them with a smile.
You've all worked hard this year, learned lots, and had fun, right?
Yeah, said the class.
And this week, we practiced how to show what you know, right?
Right.
Now it's in time for the most important lesson of all.
The class groaned as she told everyone to line up. Mrs. Hartwell walked her students down the hall. Everyone felt a little bit nervous. Mrs. Hartwell walked her students right up to the door of the library. Everyone felt a lot nervous. They gasped when she hung a sign on the library door. "I feel sick," said Eddie. Mrs. Hartwell said,
Once you've learned what you can learn and know how to show what you know, it's time to stop worrying and just relax.
So the class did just that. And when the students finished the big test on Friday, they felt good. Really good. Really, really good.
And Mrs. Soriano and I, we feel really, really great because we know that you have practiced with your teachers, you have learned lots, you've had some fun this year, and you're going to absolutely blow this test out of the water. So take your time, show what you know, and be proud of yourselves.
You guys are awesome. Best of luck.